I'm going to start with a question. Have you ever seen, perhaps when you're watching TV late at night, a commercial about helping a child in the developing world? You're probably wondering, how does that have to do with ADHD? Well, hang on, because today I'm going to tell you a story about a poor little Guatemalan child who grew up in poverty and who faced great adversity, including ADHD, but he overcame. That child is me. My name is Walter, and I'll be telling you my life story in the hope that it might inspire somebody out there. So I grew up in Guatemala, and when I was growing up, there was a devastating civil war there at the time. There was a lot of poverty and violence, and the atrocities that happen at war. But worse, according to United Nations, there was genocide being committed in Guatemala when I was growing up. And as a child, I was aware of these horrible things that were happening around me. And because my father was in a labor union, which there is not like here in Canada, which you could be part of a labor union, but there, at least during the dictatorship, it was considered dissent. So there was much oppression against my family in particular. And during the war, one of my brothers got killed. He got shot in the head. And unfortunately, we never found out the specific circumstances of his death. And during or after the war, I lost most of my immediate family, my beloved brothers and my parents. But don't feel too bad for me. I know they're in heaven listening to me right now. But um, also don't feel bad for me because it was a beautiful childhood as much as they could shelter me from the horrors of war. And they were so loving. And but they knew there was something peculiar about me because I was one of those kids that was hyperactive. Uh, I had difficulty concentrating, or I had trouble controlling my impulses. But after my brother's death, though, we decided as a family that it was best for me to leave the country for my own safety. And my parents, they love their country, Guatemala, and they decided to stay. And I love them and respect them for that so much. But so it started, and I started my journey to Canada, and it was not easy. I faced great adversity. In retrospect, I am telling you about it, but uh, it's incredible. I experienced poverty in 3 different countries, and I even experienced a few days of homelessness and hunger. And finally, I made it to my beloved Canada, though. And once I established myself, because of my ADHD, I had to make an extra effort to just operate at the same level as everybody else. And uh, at the same time, when I came to Canada a few years ago or several years ago, there was a lot of stigma about learning disabilities. And there's still a little bit of stigma going on. And that's why I'm doing this video, actually. But I remember I was working at a place, and they put my office next to they put my cubic office. It was a little cubicle, but they put it next to the mailing boxes. And there was a lot of traffic and chatter there. And I remember approaching a manager and explaining that I suffer ADHD and if I could be moved to a quiet place because that environment was very distracting. And to make it a short story, I approached 3 layers of management, and they didn't take me seriously. They left me there, and uh, no worries. I have a lot of forgiveness in my heart, and I've done well for myself. But just to show you how an invisible disability is not taken seriously, and we need to change that. But going back to my story, about 10 years ago, I decided to seek diagnosis and proper treatment. And surprise, surprise, I was diagnosed with not one, several learning disabilities, but more prominently ADHD, adult ADHD, the adult version, was the one that had a greater impact on my capacities. It causes inability to concentrate, as I mentioned, restlessness, impulsivity, control problems. But here is what I want to break the stigma, because a lot of people think that because we suffer those challenges, we are less intelligent. And just a brief side story, when I did my Master of Business Administration, before that, I had to take the GMAT on the verbal reasoning test, verbal reasoning section component. I scored higher than 90% of test takers worldwide, not just in my city. So don't believe the myths. We're not less intelligent, and we're very capable. But going back to the story, after I got diagnosed, the beautiful magical moment that happened in me is that somehow I came out not only to the world but to myself. I felt this moment of epiphany, of self-acceptance and love, and this self-love for everything that makes the fabric of who I am, including my disability. I love myself not despite my disability, but because of my learning disabilities and challenges. And because I had that ability to love myself, I've accomplished great things, and I'm better able to love others. And contrary to that experience I told you at that workplace, then I came to Royal Roads University, and just the level of love and acceptance that I encountered from the moment I spoke with the director of my program, and then my classmates, the people in the accessibility services, the people that organized this talk, it's God has blessed me with encountering beautiful people that bring out the best in me. And that's essentially leading me to the takeaways from my speech today. So it's a twofold. I want to first address people that do not have ADHD or learning disabilities. And if you ever encounter somebody at your workplace or your university or in your classrooms, and you know the human brain works in a way that we tend sometimes to prejudge. And if you deem somebody as, I don't know, perhaps strange, quiet, whatever it is, don't. I'll tell you what the thing to do is, and you'll never go wrong with this in general. If you go with love and compassion first, you'll never go wrong. Just treat us the way you treat everybody else. Or if you find them different, before you judge them, show love and compassion. And two, this time I'm talking to people out there who may be suffering from learning disabilities, and maybe they haven't seek treatment yet. But not only you, I'm also talking to you, whoever ever felt discriminated against or treated like lesser than normal because of things that you cannot control, the way you were born. For example, perhaps you have an accent like I do. Perhaps you're an immigrant like I am. Perhaps you're indigenous like I'm partly Central American indigenous. Whatever it is, let me tell you, you're worth a lot. You're just like everybody else. And I want you to know that most people are loving and caring, but if you encounter haters along your way, don't listen to them. You can touch the academic skies. You can do whatever you set your mind to. And it starts by accepting yourself, loving yourself the way you are. And then it's something magical. The sky is the limit, and you can accomplish anything that you want to do. But start loving yourself, because the world needs you. The world needs that ability that you had to create to do beautiful things. And I want you to love yourself. So in summation, my main message to the world is accept yourself the way you are, love yourself. The sky is the limit. Thank you.